Even though Mark's not here, he's up looking for a couple of numbers. Here he is. We're going to call the regular selectmen's meeting to order here at 1 o'clock. And we will start with privilege of the floor. Yeah, go ahead.
All eyes on you.
I thought I'd stop by to see if we could discuss warrant article, proposed warrant article number 4.
Okay.
I don't think we decided to proceed in this direction.
That was a question for them today.
Oh, good.
We had talked about that at the planning board level. I put it on there, but it's up to them whether or not they do that. And so whatever comes out of this meeting can go back to the planning board tomorrow, because the planning board has a special meeting tomorrow.
Now, let me ask you a question, Mark. First of all, having this as article number 4,
Yeah.
I thought non-bonding votes were taken after the meeting there in another section.
They
no?
can be anywhere.
It can be
that you
anywhere.
want.
Okay,
And
so
the
it doesn't
reason-
make any difference.
Well, the reason that we put it up, well,
You certainly want to put it in front of
the transportation plan
thing. Okay.
discussion, and that's why it was number 4. So,
Okay.
but there's no, you can put it at the end if you want, it doesn't matter.
All right. I had, when we're going to talk about article number 4, first of all, I suggest some changes in wording to this thing, all right? And I had to see if the town will support the town center development concept as presented in the company master plan revision prepared by, who is that, CM?
SE Group.
SE Group. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what we're trying to accomplish by having an article and what it does.
Just-
it's not.
Yeah.
It's whether it's a warrant article or simply a discussion, and then generally, is this something you support or don't support? But was be to kind of get a sense of the meeting as to how many people would support, the implementation of a concept like this, or people wouldn't. So the purpose is to get a discussion. I didn't think we were going to do a warrant article on it. I thought we were just going to have a sense of the meeting vote.
Well, the question that I had was, the reason I brought this to Bill was I hadn't heard anything about this being presented to the town.
Well, we've got a plan to do it, but it's not ideal by any means.
Well, yeah,
And the current plan is,
Well, it would be to try to hold the one meeting with the SE group on March 1st, and then to put together a presentation that people could self-walk themselves through on the day of town meeting, if we wanted to try to get it done.
my fear is to ask for a vote on this if we have a lot of residents that are uninformed.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what the solution to that is, but
Okay.
and
I mean, it doesn't do anything. I
The
mean,
guidance that the selectmen and the planning board would be looking for is,
it was simply to demonstrate support of the town for, this kind of initiative. That's all.
Not this specific.
No.
The concept of development of the center of town.
Right.
And so that if anything came in the next year, the selectmen and the planning board had some indication or they had heard a discussion by
Right.
the townspeople. And it also was part of the discussion before, and the reason that it's article number 4 was because it was a discussion as part of the transportation plan and gave some general guidance as we were putting together the transportation plan that, we want it to support generally, or we don't, whatever the town decides, how it supports the center of town and the development of the center of town.
right,
So, when we're doing road planning and sidewalk planning and trails and all of that stuff, thoughts from the community.
Right.
That's all it was, and that's why it's a non-binding vote. It's a sense of the meeting type thing.
But we could, instead of doing that, we could simply take 10, 15 minutes at the end of the meeting and present the concept, just present an overview of the thing and ask for some questions and comments.
That's not gonna be a 10 or 15 minute.
Well, I think you can get it down to 15, 20 minutes.
What if you had the presentation out there? Like, we're going to make a presentation
Right,
on
that
the
was the
first,
thought.
right?
We
And
try to
then
make
there'd
a
be
display
something
that people
would
can
be
walk through.
displayed. What
Yeah.
if you simply had comment cards at the display that says, here are some things I like and here are some things that I don't like about,
That's a good suggestion.
and
Yeah.
then just hand those in and keep it out of the whole.
Voting. They can
right.
do it all day long.
Yeah.
We can take comments. That provides the same guidance that we're trying to. Same general.
And then
type of
take it
guidance.
off the warrant article, and you could just do something at the end of the meeting then again and say, we've had this presentation
display
out
over
there.
there,
Is
if
there
you
anybody
haven't-
that has a pub?
To take the time to go look at it.
Does that work better, Phil?
I certainly would have no problem with even this if we felt confident that all the people that were gonna vote had an opportunity to see the whole thing. I think, education and information is of utmost importance. My fear is that the people try to make decisions without really understanding what's involved, which is a lot more than looking at a bunch of plans or pictures. And I guess I'd like to think about this a little bit. This kind of, I hadn't thought about it
The
a lot.
only advantage to doing it, the only advantage to do it is really if there were a developer that came along in the next year, he could, you could point to him and say, hey, look, we've shared a concept with the town and the town is generally supportive.
Right.
That's the only advantage.
Right.
I mean, because we're not going to vote on anything. I mean,
Right.
that really has any authority to it. So if, to the extent, if you don't think that's necessary in the next year, then I would agree with you.
I think that's great. Then whether it's a matter of the selectmen and the planning board saying, yes, this is consistent with the master plan and our direction is to facilitate things that happen with the master plan, and based on the input we received at the presentation meetings, we feel we could advance these concepts if we did this. Whether you try to get that sense from everybody is the question I'm wrestling with. Certainly the planning board and the selectmen know more about the issues and the zoning and the master plan, and that authority's been delegated to you. So I'm not sure how you really get everybody up to speed and informed so you can get a viable sentiment on something like this. When's the deadline for making this decision on this warrant article?
Close to now, right?
February, at the latest, February 5th.
Well, let me see if I can get this meeting set up
On March 1st.
on March 1st.
Right.
Because let me see if Claire's available and.
She'd be, because otherwise she's not available during vacation week, which would be the best. Short of that, the only way I can see is to try to do it on a Saturday, assuming that, we'll get a fairly good representation of non-residents here. And residents, anybody who might have an interest, and if that'd be available, and then to try given the time constraints, to try at that day voting to put up a display there's gonna be a selectman there all day long, you know, that kind of hopefully, you know, self-guides people to walk through and at least take a look. And if you got any questions, you know, go find the selectmen, they'll be glad to answer your questions, or kind of, you know, and I like Margaret's suggestion, leave some cards. What do you kind of like, don't like?
Well, let me start off by getting a hold of Claire
Okay.
and seeing what her availability
All right.
is, and see what input they have, and then I'll get back to everybody on that.
Okay.
All right.
While we're on that, we ought to take a look at Article 5. I'm okay with Article 5, other than I keep casting around for something other than just calling it a comprehensive transportation study. I would like to call it the Town Center Transportation Study. I know we're going to look at broader than just the center of town, but its focus really, the reason we're doing it is because of this concept and trying to answer some of the questions related to that concept. And we'll look at other things, but you know, in order to get that one sold, we're going to have to say, hey, look, this is a display, this is based on a concept. We're trying to at least get some initial stages going of planning that would we really build a pedestrian-oriented town center, you know, as opposed to what we have now.
And the planning board can talk about that tomorrow. When
Yeah,
you're- Yep.
right?
Yep.
You know, a lot of this is about the standards for all of these things. You know, probably what.
Well, I know that's what you're interested in,
Right.
right? Which is getting the standards for some of this. But I think from the town's perspective, more than the standards, we're interested in understanding, can a concept such as a pedestrian village fly? How much are we really talking about in money, and where might that reasonably come from, and how much of that would be, you know, an expectation the citizens would have to bear? Because, I mean, certainly I don't have an expectation that private money but to me, personally, that's a secondary issue. We could change that now.
Except you don't know what they should be.
Well, I
That
understand,
might be
but
presumptuous of people.
but I think that's in the you know. Now hoping that we'll narrow this stuff down so they can proceed with the old projects. I'm not interested in the old projects. I'm interested in the new vision. And that's just me personally. So and that's how I would present it. That's the reason we're doing this. Not necessarily to simply change the old rules and, you know, more building as usual. You know, we'll continue to do what we've done.
And that was a lot of the questioning that went on with the firms that did the RFPs with the subcommittee folks. So that'll be part of the discussion tomorrow.
What
Right.
time's the meeting tomorrow, and what's the subject matter?
8 a.m. and it is just a recommendation from the planning board on moving forward on one of those firms.
Oh, okay, good.
Thing on the agenda, right?
Mm-hmm.
Comments, thoughts?
No, I think it's best to give more people a more informed view
Right.
of what's going on,
Okay.
because those who won't see it are going to be the ones playing post office here and misconstruing it and telling everybody the wrong thing. So
Sure.
we're going to send a mixed message.
Okay. So right now we're leaning towards taking Article 4 out, but we'll wait for you.
Yeah, let me go do a little
Okay.
more. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Minutes of January 8th. Let's take a look at those. Any comments, changes? Do you have any?
I didn't see
I didn't
anything.
see anything this week.
I think under item number 8, old business 14 budget, all right? It was decided, first of all, discussed that some of the fund balance should be used for a portion of the capital items And then it says that the ambulance project and wastewater, I don't know, it goes on, was decided that they would be funded out of cash. We actually decided is we'd fund those out of fund balance.
Yeah, fund balance.
Fund
Right,
balance.
not out of cash.
Okay.
Well, and
Or
I don't
utilizing
exact-
fund balance, I know that's
I
not
have
the mechanism.
$240,000 in fund balance.
Right.
It came out to the ambulance and a couple of other
Right.
items which we can go over in a minute.
Right.
But
And I think we also, that the selectmen, really, I don't think approved, because I don't think we approved, but we recommended a budget of some amount. And I think we also made a comment to the effect that that although that's the budget, we have not approved the addition of any full-time headcount at this point in time.
Okay.
In the minutes, that we've not authorized at this stage any additional full-time headcount, even though I realize the funds are in there to do it.
no, there's no funds over the 20 people that we have right now.
Well, I thought
There are no
in his
funds.
budget, what's in the budget relative to the cleaner? I know you consider that to be
It's the
maintaining
existing-
current headcount.
It's the
Yeah.
existing position.
Yeah.
It is the existing position in the buildings
Right.
and grounds. There are 20 people full-time
Right.
last year.
Let's put it this way, and here's how I'll make this statement.
Okay.
If that position leaves,
Right.
I don't believe we've authorized a
No,
replacement.
you made that clear.
Okay.
That
He
replace
leaves.
it if he
Right.
leaves.
Okay,
But I funded it,
right,
20 people.
okay, gotcha. So some language to that extent, I think, would be worthwhile to put in there. Other than that, I'm fine. Can I make a motion to approve the minutes as amended? Do I hear a second?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, Mark, we want to talk about the budget.
Well, can we do department heads first?
Sure.
I'd like to first talk about administration.
Okay.
We have one item under administration, and that's about the online payments. We have been continuing to move forward and putting the systems in place. This past week, we've run into an ACH payments. Okay, so we have
What is
credit card
ACH?
debit. It's the automatic clearinghouse.
bank.
That's the bank-to-bank payments. We have the credit card, debit card payment method, and then we have the ACH transfer method. We offered the ACH transfer because it has less of a fee,
Mm-hmm.
because the credit cards, debit cards have a set fee plus a percentage of the bill that people have to pay to use it. With the ACH transfer, it is just a single amount of flat rate fee.
Right.
That's very low, $1.50. Okay, what happens though, the ACH transfer, on a credit card transfer, it goes to the third-party vendor who's collecting it for us, and then they give us a batch each day on the payments.
Okay.
The ACH transfer, however, does not run through that third party. It goes directly from the customer's bank to Meredith Village Savings Bank, to our account.
Right.
Because of that, every transaction is a separate deposit.
Okay.
Meaning that our bank statement at the end of the month, instead of deposits, might have 100 deposits, depending on how many people use the ACH transfer.
Okay.
That causes a problem for Sharon and Karina on a day-to-day basis, because if we get 5 ACH payments in a day, those don't all hit our bank that day. They don't necessarily hit the bank on the same day. They may be spread over 5 different days. Okay? It makes it impossible to reconcile. It also makes it impossible for the treasurer to reconcile without spending hours of time to do it.
Okay.
An alternative that we have, we can use an e-check system, which to the customer would look exactly the same, and it would have just a flat rate fee. But what would happen is, instead of their bank depositing directly to Meredith Village, their bank would cut an e-check, a physical check, which would come to us in the mail, just like every other check, and would be processed by Sharon when she's doing the deposit on a daily basis.
Right.
So that does not meet our goal of reducing the office, the staff time, okay? But the alternative of staying with the ACH and the need to track every one of those transactions individually, that actually creates it would be impossible for us to track those and do the rest of the work that we do.
Okay.
So I would recommend that we go away from the ACH, that we take that part of the service down and we replace it with e-checks. It's not gonna create any new work for us over what we're already doing, taking the payments by check. But it doesn't save us any, it's better for our customers, but it doesn't save staff time.
Do our
in
customers
doing
have to pay for a fee to do an e-check?
Yeah, they would pay, it would be, I'm not sure it's $1.50, but at the most it would be $1.50 if there are some towns that are doing it for less than $1 fee.
But it's comparable to what the fee was for the check to check, for the bank transfer?
Yeah, it would be no more than that.
Okay. I don't.
Okay, but I just didn't want you.
Have you discussed did you discuss the problem with Meredith Village? Do they do this for any other towns?
We have not discussed it with Meredith Village, but there's nothing that they can do for us because they're just taking the deposits.
Yeah, but they're also getting they must be getting the tax map information as well. And in addition to the check, they must be getting other data.
All they're getting is our
They're just
bank,
getting a payment?
our payment to our account.
Deposit to the
Yeah.
account.
Yeah.
I think it'd be
another-
worth a call to them, only from the standpoint, do they do this with other towns, and is there a way other towns got around this problem? And if they do this,
Right.
then yeah.
Okay.
But maybe
Well-
they've got a way around it, such as transmitting that information, they can compile it into a report and just send you a report.
We've thought of that, but the only thing with that is that Meredith Village has no way to know how many transactions were actually done in the e-pay system each day. So even if they
Right.
gathered everything that came in that day, the problem is that the ACH is like, we are waiting
Right.
for Friday's transactions to still hit today on Wednesday.
Right.
So there's no way of Sharon's report to equal my report to equal the bank's report.
Right.
There's
And-
no
and
way of
that's the
making those
problem.
three match up.
And then when you cross
we
bank
had three,
statements.
last Friday we had 3
We had
transfers.
3 ACH,
And
right.
2 of them have hit, but we're waiting for the third one, and those 2 that have showed up on different days.
On different days.
So it's
And
okay
we
if
don't
we're only
process them
tracking
when they
3.
come in, the interest
Right.
Changes.
Yeah. If it's after the due date, so.
Okay.
But,
These water tax, the new water and sewer bills?
yeah,
And because it's a constant, many people,
Right.
you have,
hard to
a
differentiate.
94.58, there's,
It's 300 people.
there's
that-
300,
Right.
400
Right.
people that pay that
We're already seeing
94.58.
these issues when we only have a handful of
Yeah.
them. What happens the week that everything's due and we get 100
Yeah.
Yeah,
online
gotcha.
transactions?
No, certainly we want to, I mean, the reason we're doing this is to try to save administrative time. And, it's not as a convenience. I mean, it is convenient, but it's more to save administrative time. If it's
Right.
not doing that, we don't want to keep doing it.
okay,
I don't think we do, right? I can't go
I
into the
don't think
reason.
so.
Right.
okay, good.
Okay. Anything else?
I think the credit card is a good idea.
Well,
But
yeah,
when
no,
it-
the
Credit
credit
cards
cards
are
are
We can
fine.
batch
They
those.
batch
Right.
together, they come in as one,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
both software, so that's easy.
It's not an insignificant fee on the credit card.
Right.
It's
No, and
easy.
that's,
I mean, the
that's
bank
the
transfer
issue.
has got a very small fee associated
That's right,
with
and
it.
that's why we offered both.
Right.
Because we didn't wanna push people into
Right,
paying
and
those
especially
high
come property tax
fees.
time,
Right.
I think people
Right.
would rather choose the smaller fee when they see that they could possibly pay $100
Right.
on their
Right.
credit card. because
But
of
you
it.
can also, if you have electronic bank, check
Right,
yourself.
absolutely,
That's
it
right.
doesn't say
You can send
any
know,
in-house
exactly.
time at all
But
whatsoever.
it doesn't save any
doesn't-
in-house time, which
Right.
was our main,
Right.
one of our
Right.
main goals
Right.
in doing this, and I just wanted you to be aware of
Yeah.
that piece of it. Okay. Good.
Anything else under admin?
No, we're-
No.
other than that, we're doing okay.
Public safety?
Hi.
Hi.
Well, then we got an issue with Marilyn. Can we do Rachel first here?
Okay, recreation.
All right,
All right.
I've already checked off that box, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can see.
You want red?
Well, let's see, we're just
gotta remind
cruising
me to-
along right now. We have some interviews set up for Friday for one of our, everything's going so far so good.
How about pickleball? Are we having any more pickleball controversy as to having not enough courts?
And there's a package over at the post office that was big and heavy.
There you go.
Yep.
The third net has
But the
shown
post
up.
office is closed.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right.
Up the traffic.
Don't want to
So
get
yeah, no,
people
pickleball
counting their
has
pickleballs
continued
before
to
they hatch.
do very well on the Saturdays. People have been very good about calling that day to register their court, or reserve their court, I should say. We did have a property owner this past week call to reserve, so getting both residents.
And they actually showed up?
And, yeah, and showed up. So we are, in February, we're looking to, right now we have pickleball and our climbing taking place at the same time. And we're looking to shift that so pickleball will have its own time. See if that just works out a little
Now,
bit.
in climbing, we made a note in the last minute, so when I was looking at the revenues for, it seems like the climbing revenues fell way off last year. Have we reached the end of popularity with climbing, or,
Well, we're gonna switch the time around. I
okay?
think we may be offering at a difficult time, you know, people are skiing when
All right.
we have that primarily open.
Okay,
So we're looking to bump that down a little bit, and hopefully that we'll see a little bit more participation. in
Okay.
that.
all right, good.
February break, we're gonna do our very best to make sure we have enough of the adult programs happening and also the climbing on there. It is a little bit of a challenge week for us because our school kids are still in session. So to offer everything all in one day is a little bit challenging, but done up the schedule. I'll hand that over to Mark here soon. And
Are they gonna make any exceptions for the bathroom regulations and all that during the week that we, mass vacation and the school is open? Or is
we
that gonna be?
basically- I've taken like our standing schedule now and then just once school is out, added as much to it as I can.
Okay,
So no,
yeah, no, I understand.
Okay, anything else on recreation?
Any
No.
questions?
No?
All right. We
Public,
might as well keep going from the bottom.
Public Works, right.
Public Works.
Nothing bad to report, nothing good to report, so I guess,
No news is good
no
news.
news is good.
Garbage
news,
truck is
right.
running,
Yeah.
all right,
Hopefully the new truck will show up, either this afternoon or tomorrow, so.
okay. This is the, which truck, remind?
The
We
one
got a new
ton,
550
the plow.
Right,
wing plow.
Has it been here, is it being outfitted, or is it?
It's being outfitted.
Okay, so it's been, we've got it, so it's just being
We
put
took
together.
delivery of it,
Okay.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
registered.
Yeah.
So unless you have any questions.
got any questions?
No.
Margaret?
No,
I
No.
haven't, but they don't revolve with any of this stuff.
Okay, and public safety,
Still moving along steady. Past weekend was a busy one for us. Nothing major, just a lot of running around.
right,
Few
Oh.
ambulance calls, fire calls, nothing major. Police calls a little busy.
Told about a
Again,
fake
nothing-
call?
What's that?
You had a fake call that mobilized everybody?
Yeah.
I hang up. Does that happen often?
It happened a lot.
Is there any way we can, is there a reverse 911 or something where we can you know,
Well, this particular one came in through a trunk line from the Golden Eagle, so
Gotcha.
it was somebody in the Golden Eagle. And if they, you know, in that case, if they refuse to identify themselves, then, you know, you're in trouble. And if, not in trouble, but you're kind of out of luck. And in that particular case, the being able to track it back to an individual room. But I guess on the bright side, if it was a real fire, people would be calling and identifying themselves and telling them where they were.
Okay. I had sent to Mark, just a heads up, we don't have to deal with it today, certainly.
Well, yeah, we do.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maryland, Maryland.
Maryland?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, just give you some feedback. Marilyn, when I was sitting polls yesterday, came in to play pickleball, and she was, she wasn't complaining. She was just asking a question again about, you know, the town ordinance relative to dogs running free, you know, and I guess she ran into an incident where I for whatever reason, I assume there are some people who don't necessarily like dogs, and or get upset when big dogs are without any kind of supervision running around, and ask the question, do we enforce the ordinance or don't we? And and my reaction is we don't really enforce the ordinance, and my question is, I'm not even sure whether do we need an ordinance. So I'm raising the broader question: do we really?
We've written citations and we've taken, I think, 8 calls in the last 12 months. for
Okay.
Dog complaints, and we.
She called me this morning
Right.
and went beyond what you just said and what was in your email.
Okay.
Because she is requesting, and I think that's what, she just dropped this off. She is requesting that the board put a warrant article on the town meeting warrant for a town leash law, basically. And her description on the phone to me was, every dog outside will be on a leash. Okay, that's what she desires. And she told me this morning that if you decide not to do that, that she will get a petition together and put it on the warrant, if she can get enough signatures. So that, and I haven't read this,
I just did.
so that's what she
Okay.
told me on the
Okay.
phone.
May I ask a question as far as our would happen when my dog could hear? Because he can't hear now, but my dog is in my yard on my property. I would not think of leashing him. He'll see a fine-looking young dog across the street and go flying after that dog. Does that creates a violation of this law?
Technically, that is a violation of the ordinance.
So if I'm in my yard with my dog and it's not on a leash, it is a violation.
If he
Leaves
leaves,
your property.
if he leaves
Your
your property.
property. He's got to be under your control.
Yeah.
So doesn't mean he's going to be on a leash, but if he takes off,
But we have under control as part of our guidelines now,
Yes.
and that
Yes.
seems to work fine.
And then our ordinance actually follows the state statute. And
Right.
the state statute says that either leash or under owner's control. So,
But can a community, because we can do things more stringent than state law, a community can adopt more stringent rules?
yes, they can.
Okay.
So you would need a 350-yard leash to play catch with your dog on Packard's
That's
Field.
correct.
You throw him maybe a fishing pole to play frisbee.
Yeah.
Well, then that's where some towns, have to designate dog parks
Right.
and things like that, where they make exceptions to that sort of thing. Do we have a problem with this? We had over 700 calls of service for the last 12 months. In that same time, we had 7 dog complaints.
Yes. Okay.
Uh,
Well, I think it is her right to go get a petition to create a warrant article. but it is also my right as a citizen to get up and speak against this.
Yes,
course.
right, but again, I just need to call
Yeah.
her back
The
this
first
afternoon.
question is whether we as, selectmen
Right.
would wanna
That's-
go to the extent of pushing an ordinance that says you must keep your dog on a leash.
Well, I would not.
Neither would I.
No, I'm not in favor of that, although I am in favor of enforcing the rule
And we do.
that the dog should be under your care. What is, when you get a complaint or you see a dog running around,
Very
what's the
subjective.
penalty or, yeah,
We have a 3-strike rule.
okay,
Okay, typically, within a 12-month period, if there's been, this is the first incident with this particular dog, it's a verbal warning,
right,
okay? Depending, of course, on the severity of the incident.
Unless
If
it's
it
a
was just
vicious attack.
Unless it was a vicious incident, then we handle that differently, but if just for loose dogs, somebody calls and complains and said, there's a dog here, we will find the owner, give them a verbal warning. Second time, if it happens within a 12-month period, we give them a notice to abate. It is a written warning, says you violated this part of the dog ordinance, you do it again in 12 months, it is then a 25 or 50, I forget. I think it's a $50 fine. If any other subsequent complaints within the 12-month period come in, then they get a citation. And complaint goes up to $100. If it's 3 times or more within 12 months, then they must appear in court, and they have to tell the judge why they can't restrain.
now that chain of penalties is at our discretion? Or is that what the state recommends, or what?
That is under our ordinance. That's not under state fine
Okay.
penalty. That is under our ordinance.
So how many of those 7 instances that we've had, how many of those were repeat offenders that got fined in the last year?
Two.
And will we put the dog's picture up at the post office? We could actually go to dog and master stocks in town square where they could be humiliated for an afternoon.
What is, I'm the valley floor?
It's within the town limits.
Right,
So it wouldn't
so
be
that if you're
national
walking in the national forest, although I believe the national forest also
It's-
requires
that's
your
within
dog
the
be
same
under
thing.
control, we do not enforce the national forest.
No,
Okay,
no. National forests do have their own rules when it pertains to
Right.
animals, but
right,
we can only enforce what.
Well, but if it's in the national, we could ask the National Forest to do whatever we're doing in town. We could say we'd like this to be within the boundaries of Waterville Valley, and we could ask them if we could do that,
Mhm.
right?
I don't think
Yeah,
we have to ask
theirs
them.
mirrors ours,
No.
and we just enforce
Oh,
ours.
okay, all right,
Yeah.
good, all right. Then it's all the town.
the only question I'd raise is why 3 strikes? If why the next time your dog is caught, or whatever, we wouldn't end up, you're gonna absorb a fine?
That's just typically the policy that we've had. We've
Right.
shown a little bit of restraint and given the opportunity for some of these dog owners. I must say that I think the incidents where these occurred were second homeowners,
Right,
were not full-time residents. And a lot of times wherever they come from, this is the dog's second home, and they're not typically used
Gets
to the area and seem
confused.
to roam a little bit more, and we kinda use our discretion and give a little bit more latitude for these folks. And sometimes, where there's been an incident, it's been 3 times in a row within the same weekend.
right.
And they're getting citations, so
Okay.
it's not
All right.
necessarily a long amount of time.
The lack of fining probably goes back to the days when Lenny's dog Max used to ride in the police car on a regular basis.
Yeah, and the money would have been broken.
Well, as long as he's under control, that's not the issue. The issue
How much
is,
more control can a dog be if he's in a police car?
exactly. To me, he's under control. I mean, all right. Well, my sense is there's no enthusiasm on the part of the selectmen to go to a strict leash law.
Or to propose going to.
Or propose going to, or support that notion. What I would suggest to Marilyn is, because she's going to need help, you get the language to write such a thing, a leash law, and if she can get the signatures, let her put it on the, we'll put it up as a warrant article. How many signatures do you need to get?
10.
Needs to get 10 signatures, right? 10 residents. I mean, she's got a perfect right to do that by petition.
No, it's actually less than that, isn't it? Or is it 10? 10,
I think it's
whichever's less.
it's
so
whichever's
10.
less. So
10 will
yeah.
be.
10 or what?
It's X% of the
it's
population.
X
X
percent
right?
Ah.
of the voters, registered voters,
Of
Registered
registered
voters.
voters or 10.
or 10,
Is
whichever
that-
is less.
Not to
Yeah.
throw us off course, I saw some names on one of these warrant articles which weren't Waterville residents.
Those were they were on some of them. I think they did get
They-
I think it was 7 we figured out that they
That's
needed
correct.
for that. And Pat,
Pakacharsky
Okay.
counted the first 7 that
Oh,
they
okay.
turned in.
the subsequent ones, she
Passed. The subsequent ones she didn't have to check.
which
Okay.
Because
there
they
was
already had
someone
the
from
memo.
Yeah.
Campton, I believe, on there.
Yeah.
I didn't cross it out because it's on there.
So I think is it fair to say
That's your
that we could
copy.
tell Marilyn the selectmen believe the current ordinance is
That's correct.
A, adequate, and B, is being enforced as best we can.
Okay.
And she certainly does have a right to go the petition route, and I would, and if she needs some help writing it, because, you don't want to pass something that turns out to be illegal or something.
I give her the statistics too, that
Yeah.
there have only
Yeah.
been 7
I would
calls.
say the selectmen and the Department of Public Safety
Yeah,
feel.
there have only been 7 calls, and there are only 2 of those that were repeat offenders, and most of the offenders are second homeowners.
Yes.
I
We
mean,
only have
that's-
2 habitual dogs.
Yeah,
And we have a significant dog population. How many licensed
We
dogs
do.
do we have?
53.
It's the second. Okay. Anything else under public safety?
Before they leave, can we talk about the memorandum of understanding for seeing how everybody there is involved?
Have you guys read it? I think it's great.
Are you all set with it? 'Cause
I mean, I
you
made
got
some
yours.
notes
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah, let's talk about, what do you think?
I just wanna make sure that, the term lifeguard,
Mhm.
we don't technically, we have lifeguards on staff,
Mhm.
depending on the summer.
Mhm.
Now, with not having Liz, she's definitely one of our trained lifeguards. I can't guarantee that they will be actual
Certified lifeguards, so we'll just
I
put waterfront staff instead of lifeguards.
Right. The other thing, the kid zone is fine. And I didn't get the impression what was written there made it sound like it was like a drop off kind of thing. That's something that
Right,
kids-
the child care would be drop off. The kid zone would be just like a pass through, like we
Right.
have discussed with him.
right,
A tent with some tables, some crafts,
some activities
make,
happening.
make, signs for your mom or dad, right,
Yeah, we do a variety of things to keep them
right.
entertained a little bit. The next one with the coordination of fireworks, the bonfire.
Yeah, that's,
The fireworks would be provided by the ski area, so we still would have to
okay,
get
have
them to
they said they
support
would do
that.
it?
No, they haven't.
Okay.
But as far as the other events, those would
Friday night, not a
Mhm.
Saturday. Could we do both? I don't know, based on using camp staff to do
Mhm.
the kids camp,
Right.
on that Saturday, and also we do laser tag that Saturday night. So it would be whether, do we not we not
What-
do, we'd have to do one or the other, either the campfire or.
But what if we
the-
took out the words bonfire and movies and replaced it with
Activity.
scheduled recreation activities?
Perfect.
You know, that way, it's whatever her program is,
And we did the
we would make it available.
big screen movie one time during the Black Flag Tribe,
Yeah.
but the problem with that was that they shot fireworks off in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So it was pointless to
Right.
do. Plus
So we'll just,
that sounds good. And then down at the kids camp, we're gonna offer that Saturday only.
right,
Okay. And I don't know if we wanna put like the pre-registration date on there and the min and the max for participants, or if,
I think it should be in there.
so I
so
just
you
said
tell me.
pre-register by July 28th for that,
Okay.
which is the week before.
7/28. Okay.
And then a min of
Register
10,
for the kids
max
camp.
of 20,
A minimum of
10 kids.
10 to 20.
Mhm.
Okay. Right.
The drop-off, childcare.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
The event
public
is
safety.
Saturday and Sunday, so I just wanted to
Right.
make sure that it
Right.
wasn't
Right.
2 days of doing that.
And public safety wise, you guys are, it was like supporting the Black Fly, right?
Yeah, that's all your decision on how much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah.
Absolutely.
but as far as the coordination and getting, if he wants the doctor like the triathlon had, you guys can coordinate all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's just a
Right.
matter of how much
Okay.
of that special detail time are we gonna pay
Right.
for and how much is he gonna have to give us for it?
right. So our,
And the numbers that we used for the Black Fly,
I think Black Fly's annual bill was right around $7,000.
Yeah.
I think
so that and the 3,500 brings us up to 10,500. I thought we had capped it at about 15. So we can probably get the tents in and the rest of the
well,
stuff.
there's nothing in the budget right now for
Right.
this, so we would have to put the money in if we're gonna support this.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, so that-
His bill might be a little more because he's running several races concurrently. So there's gonna be more of our staff out for a longer amount of time.
Okay, but if you add the multiplier to it, would it bring it from 7 to 10?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it would be more than
Right. Okay.
Okay. Do you need anything here? Or?
Well, no, as part of the budget,
All right.
we're gonna have to decide
Okay.
whether we're gonna put it in and where we're. You guys satisfied with the MOU as it is, with those comments? Okay, good, great, that takes care of item number
8C.
8C. Thank you.
Okay. Should we go back, Mark, and take a look at the 2014 budget?
Yeah. Okay, so one thing that I didn't include because it's color and that's hard to send to you is the updated, just what it looks like for our debt service.
Right.
So this is taking out the $180,000 for the ambulance
Right.
and funding it with fund balance cash.
Right.
So that this does include the bond bid result. It is included in the budget
Right.
document that you're looking at,
All right.
okay?
So right now, it get to the, if we take a look at the town's operating budget
Yes.
is going up. Let's start with that one compared to last year because that's probably one of the cleanest ones to work out. When I go down the list, the biggest change in there is the principal and interest on debt service.
Correct.
That's of the order of magnitude of 170,000 increase. Is this an unusual, year? Is that a one-time thing, or is that, Mark? When you look at these schedules, or that it was unusual last year that there wasn't much, principal and interest.
Yes, it is. We have not had that kind of an increase since we did the water tanks,
Right.
and we increased it by 190,000 to pay for the water tanks up on Snows Mountain when we did the new reservoir.
Right.
That was the last time we had this kind of an increase.
We
But
also
our debts- go ahead.
we retired a bunch of debt over the last 3 years too.
That's right, and we have been paying off loans, and let me get everything here, make sure.
Yeah, but let me make sure I understand 4711 and 4721, those line items.
Yeah,
This is the amount of money that we have to fund to pay down debt, principal, and interest on previous loans.
that's correct.
Okay, and I'm just curious as to why it jumped. Many of these bonds, I'm assuming, are all ones, and I will look at that schedule. It'll probably tell me where it's at.
Because we have the media tank replacement, which is $71,000 of it. We have 55,000, which
So
is
these
the
are
recycling.
bonds that we have to pay now.
That's right.
Basically, the principal back was all that because the term is expired.
No, we borrowed
We borrowed
the
new
money
money.
in 2013. 2014 is the first year
That the debt's
that we
gonna
have
hit.
paid them.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All
So
right.
those two are the majority
what are they?
of that. It's the
The tanks?
tanks over at the wastewater treatment plant that we just replaced.
Right.
That was $500,000, so that's $50,000. And then the recycling and road repairs that we did, where we borrowed $385,000, that's $38,000. The other $50,000 is not really debt service, but it is the $50,000 for the repairs to this building,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because the planning board wanted to take that into account in their tax calculation, right? Because building the new garage and then going back and retrofitting what we need to in here for public safety, that's gonna save us theoretically if we build the new,
Right.
So I'm taking 10,000 a year off because that's a savings to our operating. So I had to hit the budget the first year with the $50,000 cost. That's the balance of the increase. So you've got those three components
Okay.
that make up
The increase.
that increase, and it's both the principal side and the interest side.
Right, yeah, both are up.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, by far, that's the largest increase. I'm assuming after that, it's probably pension increases. It's something spread across all the budgets as much an impact as anything.
Yeah, our
Pensions went up 11%. correct.
the pensions went up 11%. Our total personnel costs and all of that, the total was up about 4.5% for all personnel related costs.
Right. Of which the big driver in there is pensions.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, we were gonna have to, what we were, if we budget using this mechanism, we're basically asking for a 13% increase. Now, against that is 6% of it it's about half that, because we had a one-time reduction last year. We artificially drove rates down. And
And you added we added $180,000, $180,000 of that
right. Well,
Okay,
no.
so-
In that we've made a decision to
That's
try
right,
to
to fund
pay
one time.
You know,
Yeah.
with the exception of long-term improvements such as buildings or the
Mhm.
water system to
Right.
try to start paying
Yep.
more pay-as-you-go.
Yes.
And yeah, the net consequence of that is you gotta raise the money now to do it, right?
And that does take into account, the 371,000 does take into account $240,000 use of fund balance.
Right.
We completed the audit yesterday. The field work for the audit was completed yesterday. I asked Paul Mercier to verify our calculation on the amount we're returning to fund balance.
Mhm.
And if it's less for whatever reason, I don't expect it to be, but if it's less than the 240,000, I asked him to give us a call immediately. But he did not see anything in his field work. He actually thinks it's gonna be higher than that. Wait until we get that verified
Sure.
number from him before we commit to the 240.
Okay. The only other question I had, Mark, is you gave me this, one schedule here that shows estimated revenues versus
Yep,
what your
and
current
the last
year-to-date is.
page shows you that
Right.
we're taking into account the 240 with the
Yeah,
revenue.
as is always the case. So the only question I had on that, in addition, and I'll share
Mhm.
these, I don't know whether, I don't think, did you
They're
send
not
these out?
changed, I've given those to you before.
Four,
I just-
okay.
Yeah,
Is, and maybe this question got, but under other miscellaneous,
yeah.
we used to have, last year we had a town miscellaneous income of 65,000.
Yeah.
What was that?
That was the rebate on the health insurance premiums.
Okay.
Remember, we have budgeted the full amount for health insurance in the budget.
Right.
And then we will take the rebate again as a check.
And how much is that?
I wanna say it's like 40,000 this year
Oh.
total.
And that's a given?
No, but I didn't, that's why I did not budget anything, but in September,
Right.
if we get money back, then we will be able to change that budget number with the
Right.
MS4, that we revise our revenue estimates.
What makes us believe that we might get it back, or
Because
they're
they've sent
uncertain?
They sent
they've
the
sent
letter
us
to us.
letters that
Saying
have
they were
said
going
that
to
they're
do it.
gonna
Yeah.
do something,
September,
that- that's right.
October, right?
yes.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
unsure of the amount.
But I never wanna commit to those up front to town meeting. It's basically because we would be increasing these revenues, because I didn't put them in the revenue estimate.
Right,
this
so,
year.
so there is the possibility as the year goes on,
20,
that
30,
we
40,000,
may
yeah.
be able to reduce the second half rate. Now, we're gonna,
Right.
Well, we'll
because we'll
reduce it
set
at
the-
tax rate setting.
right. Well, no, now technically what happens is for the first half of the year, we carry the old rate.
Right, yeah.
The old rate, we use 1/2 of last year's rate.
So if I look at it that way, if our budget actually goes up 13%, the tax rate in the second half of the year could go up well
Yes.
over 13.
Yes. Because we're only gonna be, we can, if we pass this budget, we can go to DRA and we can explain the situation to them, and we can ask for a one-time change and to let us raise more.
How big of a deal is that?
It would be a letter to them requesting it, and they would have to think, one meeting down there or one telephone meeting with them.
I think in this case, we probably ought to do it, right?
Well,
Rather
I
than,
would-
otherwise people are gonna get hit with a 20% rate increase in
Yeah,
the
they
second half of
could.
the year.
They
20% would be $2.50, which would bring us up to,
Yeah, but the
Almost.
problem is in every other year, because we've been
15.90.
pretty
Or
stable or
14.90,
going
that's good.
down, they're getting their tax rate on the second half bill, even if it goes up 50 cents, it's not that big of an increase. But if you're going up 13%, that's gonna be $1.50. And if all of that hits,
right, you're gonna get killed.
you're gonna get
And let me ask you a question. The town represents what percentage of the total tax bill?
over half.
We're over half,
Yeah.
is the town.
We're
Okay.
over half, probably 60.
And we haven't heard anything on the school budget, but my guess is that budget's gonna be up too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you that we should ask them
I think we
for-
probably ought to ask in this
for
case.
maybe a 5% or 10%
An increase. Yeah.
increase
Yeah.
in the rates. We can alleviate some of that increase.
Right.
And I can call Michelle Clark and talk to her about that before the budget hearing.
Okay. Bring me back to the beginning of this concept. Why are we calling them?
Okay, so we had a tax rate of $12.40.
Right.
Okay, next June,
Our
we're
bud-
gonna send a bill out for $6.10.
Correct.
Okay, if the town portion, which is let's say $7.50,
Goes
is
up
going
thir-
up 13%.
It's figure it $1.
It's gonna be $1.
But it's going to
All
be $1
of-
retroactive on the first half as well.
It all
Exactly,
lands on
we
that
didn't
second
collect
We didn't
any
collect it,
so
of
we
that
collected
increase
all in the
on the
second
first
half.
half,
I've
so
got
it's
you.
all, that dollar would all hit in December. So
Right.
we wanna try to take
So we
at
can,
least 40 cents of that or something on the first half bill.
I see that's what
Right.
we're asking for.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what we're
Okay.
asking for. Do you
Yeah.
agree with that
I
in
do.
this case?
I do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it as.
Even
well,
though,
Even-
even though if we
yeah.
got this rebate and some other things, we could look at the
Right, but
unfunded
we-
balance again and make
Yeah,
a decision.
and they
possibly.
won't
No, no,
care
I-
because even if we put it on the first half bill, if for some
Right.
reason we did something else and the rate didn't go up that much, it's still only the
It's-
balance of the total rate.
No, I've got you.
So I'd rather give them a
Because we know it's
smaller
coming
bill.
down the tracks,
Right.
so let's
Exactly.
slow it down.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, what we'll say, it's a 13% increase, but what we're doing is trying to get the town back to more of a pay-as-you-go basis. For items that have relatively short lives, we're trying to pay for them as we're going along again. Which is what the town used to do. When you go back and look at, I was amazed, I went back and look at some of the tax rates that were here 15 years ago, they're significantly higher than the rates now.
We're also paying the school tax too.
Yeah,
Well,
That-
Bill,
that-
they weren't, that's right, the school tax added a huge
Right, that was.
amount to the overall
oh,
rate. And-
well, I'm not
and
so
we
sure this
didn't-
was the school tax that was doing it, but,
Yeah,
I
it
think
was because I
'cause it
remember
hit
when
in
it,
1999.
yeah, okay.
But the other issue was we weren't doing capital projects a lot. In
No, and
the
those that they
80s
were
and
doing, they
90s.
paid. They were
Those that
doing
they
that
were
with cash.
doing, they paid
Right.
with cash, but they weren't doing
Many of them.
many of them.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, we're paying.
well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're still somewhat playing catch up.
Okay,
All right.
you're all right
um,
with the budget?
Well,
So-
let's talk about a couple of other budget issues here.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the
Sure.
the duathlon, where I'm figuring to be safe that we should probably include $20,000 in there, whether we spend it or not. Is something else. We roughly made a commitment in the past for roughly $15,000. So they want $3,500 in cash for them to spend on advertising and promotion. As we're talking here, we're talking roughly between $7,000 and $10,000 for public safety, and then if we have to incur the fireworks, that would bring us up to roughly the 15. Is that about right?
Mhm.
So do we want to provide a cushion or not?
Well, the Black Fly Triathlon
Right.
paid for a major portion of the public safety bill.
Yeah.
So the total bill was $10,000,
Right.
but the Black Fly Tri gave us a check for 7 of that,
Okay.
and the town portion was 3
Okay.
or 4 or whatever it ended up being each year.
Okay. So
So I'm just
yeah. No, I'm
we have
understand-
not.
yeah. We had made the
before.
commitment a couple of years ago. We can leave it at the 15, where we made a commitment for 15,000 to try to keep Black Fly here.
We did in this, yes, because he wanted a payment in
Right.
lieu of
So I think
all of this other
is that a
stuff,
fair
or
number to put
addition
in
to all of that
for the
other
budget
stuff.
for us?
Well, and I have the question, I don't know where, somewhere's in these warrant articles, there's a warrant article to raise money on behalf of the Resort Association. Whether we would just bundle that into that warrant article and ask the town to see whether they wanna vote to support this thing. Now, that obviously raises the risk, suppose they say no, they don't wanna
Yeah,
support it.
well, I think we have a navel orange versus a Jaffa orange here,
Right,
where as the selectmen and as a town, we have gone to the triathlon
right,
and told them whether we would support them to bring them in
Okay.
here. Resort Association is a separate initiative, and that, if we put that as a warrant article, that's not an issue. I don't have an issue with doing that at all. That's a
but you feel
continuation.
in this case, we've already committed to this?
Yes.
Oh, well, then we don't wanna put it in as a warrant
Right.
article.
No.
Right,
I think it ought to go in the budget where we have the other
Other general
things that
government.
were the other
Yeah.
general government things that we specifically name out so
Yeah.
that people know.
and what's the amount you're suggesting here?
Well,
Let's go 15,000
Okay.
as we had before,
Yeah.
15,000,
and
okay.
we will keep.
So
the
you're gonna
date on
revise
that.
these numbers?
yes.
Okay,
Now, do we want to go over the
I
letter
have a
from
couple
Matt
of,
Hester?
yeah, that's the next one.
All right. Well, what happened at the Resort Association was in the past we had supported the Resort Association with the initiatives of building conference business, but I thought we switched it to wedding business, and we said we would reimburse things in promoting weddings coming to Waterville Valley.
I think it was conference, and they said,
Okay.
can we use it for weddings?
Okay.
Right,
Well, that money has been exhausted. There's maybe
Right.
$1,000
There's
left.
$5,800.
58.
Well, that's what I'm showing, Mike, and that's why I
No,
didn't
no, because
understand
according to
what
Soma,
Mike
I
Soma
know, has
that's what-
1,090.
Well, I am showing, right now, I'm showing WVRA, oh, wait a minute, I was looking at the wrong one myself. Nope, the WVRA reserve account, $5,886.
Okay.
And I was recommending, in fact, it's in the sheets that I gave you, and I was recommending you need to vote on these encumbrances for the year.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things that I was recommending that you encumber. So we could put $2,500 more in that account.
Well, okay. And give him the 75.
And give him
Let
the
me call
75.
Soma this afternoon to make sure he's not holding a bill or thought he's got a bill, because I would hate to have this cross through. But let's go. Because I want to present this on a clear, even path as opposed to just saying, let's give them the money. We had made a commitment to support them for a couple of years with the understanding they would stand on their own.
right.
They have stood on their own, and the wedding and stuff is profitable to them.
Right.
What this is Chris Sununu pretty much asking us to support or be a partner in his marketing for a proprietary venture in the town.
Well, okay.
It does drive a lot of
As I
business.
read it, it didn't sound like just give me general funds for marketing. I read it as being, I have a specific plan to.
No, he showed up with a list of what he wanted to do to the tune of $15,000 to the Resort Association to pay for, and we explained that the Resort Association had been operating as a pass-through for the town's money and reimbursing for
Right.
these advertising and things.
Right.
And what he wanted was the whole 15,000, and I mentioned that 15,000 was from 2 years ago, and it's taken 2 years to spend us down to 1,090 is what I thought the balance was.
Okay.
So that's where I came up with the 7,500 as a reasonable number, because it's taken over 2 years to get to it.
Mhm.
But that's the question: do we want to support it? Do we want to have the townspeople
So,
support
so
it?
in effect, what you're at, what they're at, what I don't know who's asking, but let's say it would be 7,500 to replenish some of the funds in that account.
Yes.
And so it would continue under the guise of, if you've got specific things that you're going to do that are going to bring more conferences in here, come and see us, and we'll make on a
Yeah.
case by case basis. We're not going to give you money.
I understand. Oh, that's
Oh, right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
But what I'm saying is, if this is 5,800, let's just bring it back to the 7,500, or
Yeah.
say, okay, we'll give you $2,500, and
yeah.
then it'll
But I've
go
got to
into
check
this
with
account,
someone.
and we'll check.
Yeah.
So it's either 1,000. Put in the budget enough to bring that back
Whatever
to
it is, to
7,500.
7,500.
Okay.
If that, and let me give you the second part of
Do we
the
actually have
request.
to have a warrant article?
No,
for
no,
that?
you don't need to do it as a separate warrant article. You can do it as part of the budget, but I
But
need
can
to
I,
put.
can I put it in that reserve?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me bring you to the second.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
okay,
go
no,
ahead.
you can, let's finish the first part.
No,
So-
no,
So do we have a consensus that we'll bring it up to $7,500 based
Sure.
on what we
The
need?
capital reserve, and they will
The
come to
capital
us.
reserve.
They will come for us for
Go with
reimbursement.
specific projects,
Okay.
right.
Okay, and what did you say you had, 5,800?
I have 5886.
We'll bring it back up to 7,500, and as before,
Okay.
it's on a project-by-project basis.
Now, the second part of the request,
Yes, 2 poles.
well, the
Yes,
two,
well, I gotta talk,
well,
yes.
yeah, we need to talk about the two. If there's a need for these 2 poles, because I spent some time.
Yes. Excuse me for laughing, but yeah.
I spent some time pricing out what these banners cost.
Yeah.
To create a banner that would withhold the durability and be
Yeah,
up there
right.
is roughly, for a banner that's, say, 30 feet wide
Right.
and 4
Across the
feet
road.
up and down,
Yeah.
is $400 to $500.
Okay.
And also, it would entail our public safety people putting it up
Well,
and taking it down.
okay.
Because you can't just say, "Oh, can we put our banner up?" and have you,
Well, yes, go ahead.
you can't have something where the public can
We're
get
saying
to.
the same thing.
Yeah, we don't want pirate flags flying up in the middle of the night, or
Well, I have some other concerns too.
Okay, what-
You have visibility, sight distances, because you have people coming down the hill.
Yeah.
And that banner, if it's going across the road, is gonna potentially block the intersection onto Triple I Road.
what's going to be
We-
after.
No, if you're coming down the hill from the realty office,
Yeah,
and you are going down that hill, if there's a banner across there,
yeah.
there will be a point on that hill where you will not be able to see the intersection.
Right.
And if
Okay.
if
Unless
I
it's
put
way
it in
up
the
really
wrong,
gotta
high.
be.
unless you're way up high.
It's
and
got to
then-
be way up high because we've got huge trucks.
Well, I understand that, but even at 13 or 14
Oh, I'm
feet,
showing you
you're
30
gonna-
feet.
Yeah, but then nobody's going to read it.
Well, the people that are coming in, well, whatever. There's a lot that needs
There's
to
a
be
lot.
studied.
Well, here's my thought. The one. This is exactly.
Why don't we
my-
get 2 poles and have them stand out there?
Exactly. No, but we.
Get a clown out there
One of
with
the-
some balloons.
But at least that's
But-
our highway. You know, I
Yes,
mean,
it
it's not
is our
state
road.
highway.
That
so,
is
okay.
correct. But we have as part of this transportation plan, the company that is going to get recommended tomorrow
Yeah,
has a landscape architect
Yeah.
on staff, and he does road signage,
Okay.
and that's his role.
Okay.
I
So
think once we get them on board, then we spend a little bit of money with his time and look at
Right.
issues like this as a
Okay.
as a
let's
job.
table it because the concern that I came up with was if we put up these holders,
Right.
would anybody be? How many people are willing to spend $500
Exactly.
additional on their event for a one-time banner?
Hmm.
And would we have these 2 holders with nobody using them?
And then you have, like in other towns, you see Old Home Day banners that
Right.
have little pieces of cardboard because
Because
the
they
day
take
in
out the dates,
August changed, and
Yeah,
they
no,
just-
I agree with
because
you.
they spent $500 on the original banner
Right.
and they want to keep using it.
Okay.
And is that really what we want to do?
So I'll make a motion
So-
to table the second part of.
Yeah.
So
Yes, until
we,
after.
what we really need, what we need to do is delete that warrant article.
Yes. that
There's
doesn't
no need to have a warrant article if we're just gonna fund it
Yeah.
out of budget.
Which warrant article?
I don't know, there was a warrant article in
For
here
the
somewhere I read
$7,500.
that did this.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
proposed.
yes, the WVRA warrant
Yes,
article.
right.
Sorry, yes,
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay,
No.
Number 6. No,
No. The WVRA I did not put it
No,
in
you
as a
didn't put it
separate
Where did I
warrant
read it?
article.
yeah,
I
I
read
read
it
it somewhere in
somewhere
the
in
stuff that came
Or
out,
maybe,
and it
maybe it
looked
was
like
in
a warrant
the
article.
maybe it was in the description.
We don't need to do anything.
Right.
Okay,
Oh yeah, it's item 7C.
All right.
It's written 8 here.
Yeah, it's just in the memo.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we will, I'll get back to Matt Hesser and tell him, you're gonna talk to Mike
I'm
Sullivan,
gonna call
and give me
Selma
a
as soon as
call.
we're out of here.
All right. A couple of other budget items.
Go ahead.
Buses. They're in here for $48,000. I have not gotten anything. I have requested, but I have not gotten anything from the ski area as far as budget backup to that. We can let it go at 48,000 if you want, or I can send them an email and say we're not gonna put anything in there if we don't get budget backup. It's totally up to you.
You gotta reserve a number. Now, you know, cause we know we're gonna pay something. I mean, you're not suggesting we put 0 in
Well,
for the buses.
you're gonna make me say it out loud. No, I'm not suggesting, but we are supposed to be paying 25% of the cost of operating
Right.
that service.
Right.
We don't have any clue what their budget is, and we haven't for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Well,
And
what if we put the same amount
Yeah,
in?
that
and,
is- yeah.
and sent them a letter and said, but we're not gonna actually give you any money until we see the
Until
budget.
we see the budget. Or if you would prefer to, I mean, really grab the retention, is you take the money out of that, put it in contingency, and leave that line item as 0, but you've got to reserve some funds in
right.
the effect that we'll pay for something.
Right.
But yeah, I would take a position.
And that's how I know the
We
numbers
did,
are there.
Yeah.
But again, it's
Yeah, okay, no, you're
It's
right,
been
but
several
we
years
need to have a placeholder
since-
in
Right.
there.
Right.
all right.
Placeholder. I mean, if you're
We'll leave the placeholder where it is,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it doesn't make any difference.
Right.
But no payment until we see the budget.
Yeah.
Right.
right, or how much? It's 48. Put 8 in contingency. Cut it to 40. That'll get their attention.
We already did, we cut it from 50, they wanted
Yeah, they
54
wanted
last
54
time.
the
We cut
last
it to
time we came
48.
to it.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Then leave it
We
alone.
tried that, how well did that
Yeah.
work for us? All right.
Okay.
All right.
Final thing is, I don't know if you guys are getting any pushback from the library,
Yeah.
I haven't heard any
Um,
library pushback.
but we have just put $2,000 in there for books. We didn't fund any repairs or anything on the library. There is currently in the library, library special revenue fund, $12,252 plus whatever interest we earned during the year.
And that is
account.
for?
The library. Now,
We haven't spent it in years, have we?
Well, who controls that money? Is it the librarians or
They
or
come
us?
and tell us what they
come
need.
and tell
and
us
we-
what they need, and we write a check.
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest that we budget 0 for the library and start using that fund until
Yeah.
we get it down to a reasonable number.
Yeah,
What do you think?
That's exactly what.
yeah.
Right.
I think the last thing we did, we replaced some windows and painted the place, right?
Yeah, but no, we didn't even use the special revenue fund for that.
Oh, okay.
We raised money, and they got donations in
Right.
kind
Okay.
for the windows.
Do we have the gazebo repair in the budget?
I got
It
that
is.
down.
Okay.
Public Works budget includes $10,000 for the gazebo
Okay.
repairs.
That just made me think of
Yeah,
other things that
or
are.
buildings and grounds, it's in one of those line
Okay.
items. Darn, I just had, for the transportation plan,
Right.
I have the $90,000 in there.
Right.
The budget estimate from the company that they're gonna recommend
Right.
is $77,000 to $100,000. That, they gave a range.
Hmm.
Okay.
the
Okay.
timeline during the interviews yesterday, on the timeline for completion of the project, they recommended, and they're gonna talk about it tomorrow, but there was a recommendation made this is information that they would use in the development of the transportation master
Okay.
plan. Folks that were participating in the interviews would like to do that. We could add the $3,000 to the planning board's line item in the budget. It would take it from 2,500 to 5,500. And I'm okay doing that if you're, because the data that we collect, whether we use it for the transportation master plan or whether we
Use it for something else.
use it for something else, it's gonna be usable data. And I could reduce the budget number that we use. Instead of $90,000, I could put $85,000 in there. And we're still within their range,
Gotcha.
and we've had no impact on the budget.
Does the planning board have a reserve account like the
No.
library?
No.
Just check it,
I'd say put the number in the planning
Yeah.
board.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, do you
Leave
want
the
me to
90
reduce
alone.
the
Yeah.
90? Okay.
No,
No,
So
leave
I'm
leave it
gonna
alone,
add,
it's uncertain.
I'm gonna add 3,000 to. Okay. All right. And then you had in your packet a sheet that has recommendations for encumbrances
Yeah.
on these line items. The line items down here, these are the unaudited number
Mm-hmm.
that we expended during 2013 on those accounts.
Okay,
This is the balance that we would be carrying forward into 2014. And some of these line items would be closed and done away with. Did you find it, Mike, or do you need this?
I've got too many pages here.
That's all right. I think
What-
she's-
I'm not sure I understand what
What
you're
does
talking
it say up
about.
at the top of this page?
It
Capital
says
accounts.
Yeah, I've
capital
got it.
accounts review.
Gotcha.
So
Oh, I've got you.
it says encumbered to 2014.
Yeah.
That means we're gonna carry this remaining balance on 12/31/13,
Yeah, gotcha.
and we're gonna use it this year.
In 2014.
If it says closed, then we're gonna, if there is a balance there, some of them have like $170 there on the climbing
Right.
wall, that'll just go to fund balance. Because these were cash items.
Yep.
Listening?
Okay,
Here it is.
so, but I need a vote, okay, I need a vote from you to encumber these amounts.
And you've already figured that in the budget and in our debt.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with
Oh,
that.
nothing to do with
It's-
debt, this is cash.
It's cash.
Yeah,
So it has nothing to do with our debt. It has nothing to do with the budget.
Right.
These numbers would be added to
You got
the
a,
budget that
you
gets
got a plus
passed
and
at town
minus.
meeting.
Minuses.
Right.
The only issue here is whether we should go down these, are we encumbering anything that we really shouldn't encumber?
Okay, yep, that's what I'm
I
asking.
mean, because, you know, if we need to do it.
Well, the Corcoran's Pond maintenance is
What's the
ongoing.
Tecumseh Road sidewalks? That damn thing has been hanging around for 10 years,
It
right?
has. But
What?
But again, we've got the transportation, that, you know, that was money we talked plan, and that'll help us with implementation of stuff. If we have something that comes up during the year unanticipated, that's money that we have available to spend. Just like the town hall safety improvements, that's gonna be a
Well, we have it
building-
to spend, it's gotta generally be spent in the item that's labeled. Wasn't this money that was supposed to be to fix the sidewalks?
It was to build new sidewalks.
To build new sidewalks?
Yes.
So,
Okay.
just start at the top, Corcoran Pond maintenance, that's a good one, yes.
Yeah, I don't have any problem
Okay.
with that. And maintenance
Maintenance
vehicles,
lift,
fine.
we're gonna use during the construction of the
Town hall
DPW
safety
building.
improvements, yeah.
Same thing.
The rest of
Sewer
nickel
connect,
dime.
yeah.
And then we got 15,000 on the sidewalks. The
Yeah.
question is, are we gonna just do that as part of some bigger projects? I don't know about that one. What do we got street light replacement for?
Four streetlights, we put a streetlight in 2012, and then we put a streetlight in
Yeah,
this year.
we keep this in.
So-
So we could get up another street light if we need to.
We could, yeah.
All right.
So we'll keep that?
The reserve account, we just already talked about. Federal property acquisition, this is buying
That's-
Hummers
No, that,
and
well,
generators?
we're gonna, yes, this is for the generator installation, so I'd
Okay,
like to keep that.
that's fine.
Yep.
The town car utility vehicle?
We still haven't bought one.
We haven't bought one yet.
Yeah.
They have a plan, they're gonna come in and talk to you about it in 14.
Why don't they use one of the Hummers?
That's real.
Right? What else are we going to use them anyway?
Why don't we have a planter?
1-ton dump truck.
Well, we have
Okay.
not taken it, it's, the balance is spent, so I would ask that we'd encumber that, because we'll have to raise it again to go get the truck. That money will just come out of 2014, but it's already spent, we're
Okay.
just waiting to take delivery of the truck.
All right. Well, and yeah. So that's not no brainer. Yeah. The only ones that I question on here is: are we really going to get a utility vehicle, and are we really gonna fix the sidewalks? If not, why don't we just take the money off the list?
I think Ray Kucharski has some strong feelings about the Tecumseh sidewalk.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because
So
I
you'd be
can
in favor of leaving them
recall-
on?
I can recall that we perhaps borrowed some money out of there at one time to do something.
We've talked about it a couple of times,
Yeah.
and he's been very against using it for anything other
Than sidewalks.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, let's leave 15 grand. I mean, it's not costing us anything to leave it on the list. I just
Right.
don't like them after a while because
I
it
understand.
encourages spending without scrutiny.
Well,
Well, it's easy to spend money that's already raised and we think we have it and it's
Well,
sitting
we
there.
can't spend it on anything but the
Sidewalks.
sidewalk unless
Right.
we have a
unless you have
public
a
hearing.
public hearing.
Right.
Yeah.
And the utility vehicle, we may still buy one?
Yes, we
They've been
we
talking
want
about
to,
it.
we have not sold you yet
On the town car. That's because the
And-
old town car still works.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
Yes. Right.
that is
You
correct.
just don't like folding up the lawnmower to get it in there.
That's right.
Well, they
it's also
solved that
not-
problem because they appropriated the Kubota
Yeah.
from the police department, which is a good solution, you know? Right? Well, I don't see the police riding in that anymore. I just see the,
Oh, the police use it a lot.
oh, they do?
Yeah, to
Okay.
go get lunch. So I saw the
use the
Lamborghini.
Lamborghini.
Hummer the other day.
No,
Someone
we
was
use the
doing a lunch run.
Lamborghini to do that.
The pizza delivery truck.
Well, the Hummer's got to run.
Oh, I know. That's
All
But
right.
we use the Lamborghini to get the pizza.
Okay.
So,
I don't
what
have
would
a
you like
problem
me
with
to
any
do
of those.
with those two? So I'm going to leave the sidewalk in there.
I would.
Am I going to leave the utility?
Yes.
Yeah, right. We're all right.
Okay?
And the rest of the big items here, we'll talk about some of these in a minute or so.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
All right.
So, so we've got the encumbrances in the minutes, just so that we're carrying forward those as presented. All right. For the rest of the budget, I guess it would be looking at the town meeting warrant and
Right.
making sure this is the way we want to do it. First thing is the time.
Yeah, we've
In the
got.
preamble, we have to stay open from 11 to 7.
We will not realistically, knowing that, because we can't, we're not going to have the results till 8 o'clock.
That's correct.
and, you know, it's a lot of elections, there's a lot of counting going on, and besides which, they're gonna get stuck missing summer town meeting. I mean, they're gonna,
Well, I asked
Right.
town council about that, and she said, our regular setup with the little
Right.
square at one end of the gym, and all we're gonna have to do is make sure that if Kevin Saba is the moderator, that he has a deputy that stays with the ballot box,
right,
and then all the other election officials and the town clerk can move back and forth between so one person, the deputy moderator, and maybe one supervisor of the checklist or whatever stays over there for whoever walks in to vote in
okay.
the state election. Then the rest of the people can come and run town meeting.
Is there, I realize we have to stay open for state election.
Yes.
Can we have different polling hours for town elections?
She recommended no. Town council, I asked town council. that.
Oh.
She recommended no.
No, but that recommended no means we could do
You
it.
could do it. You could stay
And why
with
did
the
she
10.
recommend no?
Because then we would have to set up a third area with
Oh, you mean they're
town
gonna be
meeting.
separate?
They have to be separate from the
polling place.
deliberative session. So,
Oy, oy, oy.
and she doesn't think having two ballot, because I asked her if we could have two ballot boxes.
Okay.
And have one ballot box open from 10 to 2, all right, and the other one open from 11 to 7. And she said, no, you should not do that. And she checked with the Secretary of State's office, and they concurred. They would prefer that we run 11 to 7.
But technically, the only things on the ballot that are going to residents, right, that are actually going to get voted on ahead of time are 2 warrant articles, right?
One warrant article.
Just one, just the
which
town
is
election?
the voting, just the town election.
Oh, Article number 2 doesn't have to go to secret ballot.
It does go to secret ballot in the deliberative session.
Right, but it
There's a
doesn't go to
separate-
secret ballot in the
In the polling
in the
place.
polling place.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think people care who got elected.
Do we have anyone running? I know Margaret is
yes.
Margaret's
running.
running.
Margaret's
Yes,
running.
but I mean, is it
Um,
town clerk?
I guess Reggie
Breckner,
Breckner is going to run for town clerk.
Okay.
but he hasn't come in and
The
No,
guy
he's
or the
come
wife?
in. His wife.
his
Okay.
wife.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Marilyn Clarkson is considering and
Running
wants
for
to
moderator.
run for moderator.
We should ask if we haven't anyway. I think we could get Tom. If we
Tom?
could get an assistant.
Myrick?
Yeah, to run moderator.
I asked him, but we can pressure him.
I think if we asked him, he might
Yeah.
do it.
Well, the filing period opened today,
Right.
Okay.
and it is open through next Friday, the 31st.
All right.
So,
All right.
Right.
okay. So Kevin Saba is on board
For this meeting.
This meeting, and he is going to the training. As far as I know, he's going to the training on February 22nd. So
Okay.
he will be a trained moderator when we get to there. So, and then the supervisor of the checklist, they're working on their 2 positions. Trustee of the trust fund, Pat Sullivan, is thinking about it, and I don't know what the library trustees, I think Monique is running
Yes.
again. So, I don't think there's a problem. The biggest issue we're gonna have are the 2 supervisors of the checklist, and if we've got the town clerk covered. The supervisors, those are long periods of time, one's 4 years and one's 6 years. So that's a big commitment, and I think they're having trouble getting folks.
I think I had a question with that with Monique, because she thought it was, she had finished out Karen
Yes.
Lamone's 6-year term, so it was 2 years, so I'm not sure. She had a question
I'll
on
go
that the
over
other
it
day.
with her, but
so.
I went through that, and I think this way is correct, but I'll check with
yeah,
her to make
just-
sure, but
We have to make these 4 and 6 year terms?
yes. They are for the balance
Sure.
of the one person who resigned, and then, because if she volunteered to fill in, she's only filling in until the next election, and then at the next election,
It comes up for the full
it
term.
comes up for the 4-year period. That's
Mhm.
why there's a 6 and a 4. Usually there's only a 6 on there.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So that's the ballot, and the timing, and she said we could have a deliberative session at 3 o'clock,
It's
as long as we're separate from the polling area, and we will be.
Okay.
So we've gotta wait till 7 for the polls to close?
Yes,
Okay.
and then
Yes,
they'll
so
start
town,
counting, so we won't
town
know
candidates,
results probably till.
Well, the odds are pretty good that town meeting will be over before
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
polls
Oh,
close.
yeah.
Now, is the
absolutely.
school gonna do anything this year? Are they gonna do a potluck or,
I don't have any indication yet.
yeah,
I think we might discourage them, given the voting going on, from doing that.
oh,
Well, when you
Oh.
think about the polls being open and,
What? Yeah, but if they're in the gym, in the cafeteria,
yeah, they
they'd be
can
totally
sit,
separate.
yeah,
from
it's
it.
2 separate rooms and it gives people something to do.
Yeah.
And they can really,
Well, I'll ask if they
Okay.
have a
Yeah.
plan, and I'll let you know. The
All right.
PTA just, I haven't heard anything.
it's
from
faded
them yet.
since the,
Yeah, it
the-
has. Number 2 has to be where it is.
right, my problem is the wording on Article 2. And I don't know how to, I know that what we're following here is the prescription, but we wanna see if the town approves an expenditure of $700,000 for the ride.
800 actually.
Whatever the
Yeah.
number is,
Yeah.
800,000, and votes to raise through bonds 236,000. If you read this, you think the garage
It's gonna
costs
cost
236,000.
$235,000.
Right,
It doesn't.
but we can't mention in the warrant article, we can't mention the money that was previously authorized. But as part of the presentation, that'll be the whole presentation for the bond hearing on February 5th. And at town meeting, that'll be the slide that kicks off the whole thing. We are combining this money with the 564,000 that we already have approved back in 2011 for a total project of $800,000.
If this gets turned down, what
Yes.
happens to the 500,000?
It sits there until we rescind it. It's already authorized as a bond issue, and the only way to get it off our books is to rescind it, which takes a warrant article to rescind.
If this warrant article were to get turned down, can we introduce in the meeting a
No.
warrant article to rescind? No.
It has to be on the warrant.
All right, so it'll wait till next year.
Right.
But we haven't bonded that 500
We haven't bonded the
some, so it's
564,000.
Right, I understand.
not doing
Right,
any
right,
harm sitting
right.
here for a year.
Well, it's just money sitting around and then somebody decides, we'd like to do something else,
Yeah.
and then we feel we can just spend it.
Well, but part of our issue has been, and the whole reason, remember, we have 88,000 in contingency in the recycling warrant
Right.
article authorization. We have over 88,000 in contingency. And we have 230,000 for the truck. And we have another, I think it's over $50,000 remaining for the recycling facilities.
Is it public?
Absolutely, it's always public.
And we all came to the conclusion, and we asked town council if we could use any of that money instead of raising this,
Right.
and we can't. So
Mhm.
we can't use it for anything except what it was
Designated
authorized
for.
for. So we've got, other than that 88,000, we could reduce this theoretically by the 88,000 in contingency, but then we wouldn't have it for the other.
All right, as long as we clearly
I-
present
Oh, yeah,
that
we-
this is an $800,000
Oh,
bill.
absolutely.
That's what you're voting on.
Mhm.
Okay. Article, any
Artic-
other concerns about Article 2?
no.
Now, that's the only warrant article that has to be where it is. We can move
Right.
all the rest of them around however you want. Okay, I put
That's the
them,
only one that requires a secret ballot.
that's the only one that requires the written ballot, yes.
Right, okay.
Yep. So what I did was I just took the amounts and went down by amounts. So 180 was first
Right.
for the
Yeah,
ambulance.
that's fine.
And then we're gonna, Bill Cantlin's gonna
Okay, well,
check, but we're probably gonna delete Article
Four.
4.
I would think that's gonna get deleted.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, we just. And then Article 5,
Yeah.
we're gonna leave at 90,000,
Yep.
and we're gonna leave it where it
Can I
is.
just, on Article 5, we had an article like this last year.
Right.
it went down to defeat. What are
Yes.
we doing differently this year
We-
versus last
Yeah,
year?
we've been through a request for proposal procedure.
Mm-hmm.
The planning board has interviewed 2
Right.
firms.
See,
They're going to make a recommendation to you to select one of those firms. We have a written
yeah, Mark,
plan.
I understand that. I think what Margaret is asking is, how are we going to relay it to the townspeople who are voting on this, what this is and how to differentiate it from what happened last
Well,
year?
Okay, well,
and
there's two ways we could do it. Either we could do what I'm doing right now and go through the steps that we followed and have a presentation, or, I think preferably, you have the planning board chairman or the chairman of their subcommittee stand up
Yeah.
and talk about the process that they went through. So that the $90,000 is a real, here's our budget and here's what we're going to do with that money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd let them do it.
Yeah, I
And just
agree. It
give
has to
them
be
10
done.
minutes and do your presentation. And I've talked to Ray, and we've got Ray, we've got Wendy, we've got Nancy Knight. Any one of those people could
Mhm.
stand up and do it.
Now, I believe that the way to get this sold is to tie it to this concept of the town,
Town center.
creating a pedestrian-oriented town center.
Yep.
And what we want to do as a first step is at least figure out the transportation component of this.
Mhm.
Now, the day of that vote, we're
Yep.
going to set up a display
Yep.
that when people come to vote,
Okay.
they'll be able to walk through and get at least some overview of what that thing is about, and explain, and then have Ray explain to people, look, this is a concept, and we want to at least begin to do some work
Right.
surrounding it, and the place to start is this thing we're calling the transportation study, but it's much broader than that.
Right.
You
And
know.
I think the other thing we could do, Bill, I think changing this to town center is good. That ties it in.
Just call it town center transportation
Yep.
study
And
or
then
something.
the
I
other
mean,
thing.
I don't support what Canlin wants us to study the width of parking things, because he wants that changed now, and I am in no mind to change that stuff simply to, so they can go build more stuff.
Right. So, and we could also have boards prepared by the firm that
Right.
they select and say, okay, this is the type of
This
thing
is
that
what,
we're gonna be doing.
exactly, give an
These
example.
This is what we're gonna be looking at, and
Exactly.
it'd be nice to have that as part of the display, so
Exactly.
that people had a perspective of these are the issues we're gonna study and try to flush out at this
Right,
point in time.
and the other thing is they wanna start right away and conduct a survey during town meeting, because it's a time when we have everybody
Right.
together, and they wanna start gathering data. So, I think
Well,
that
we could
this is-
just stick them in the display for the day,
Exactly,
and
yes.
they could, answer,
Mhm.
questions or whatever they wanna do, right?
Okay,
All right.
good. Anything else on Article 5?
No,
Okay.
other than I would call it the town
Town
center
center, yeah.
transportation
Mhm.
study. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, I still don't like it, but, it's better.
Well, we can talk about a name tomorrow if you want, Bill, too.
Yeah, I can't come up with a better.
Why don't we
name,
call it
so,
town center transportation / expansion?
Yeah.
Or
I'm open to anything.
transportation / development.
Yeah.
Well-
Call it the town center transportation development study.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah. Town center
Okay.
transportation
Yep.
/ development.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is Article 6 okay?
Article 6.
Yeah.
I think a 6 is all right.
How much can you change a grinder pump?
I don't know.
Hey, I got rid of common neuter.
Well, good, because that would be another
That's the common neuter.
conversation.
It's now the grind. And it's to come from undesignated fund balance.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
Are we gonna have?
we keep saying on these things it comes from undesignated fund balance.
Mhm.
But in reality, the way you set the budget up is completely different. All these things are just cash capital items.
That's
Right.
They've add down to 345,000, and we just decide as a revenue source we're going
Where
to
we're
take it.
taking
No.
it from.
There's two things.
Okay.
You have voted from surplus or voted from fund balance, which is the way we're setting these up.
Right.
And then you have taking it at tax rate setting time, you, the selectmen, have the authority to apply fund balance to affect the tax rate.
Right.
So
if you look at Article 3, it says, no amount to be raised by general taxation for the ambulance. That $180,000 is committing $180,000 of fund balance
Right.
to pay for that.
Well, then strictly speaking, Mark,
Yeah.
then I don't understand why this cash capital line
Yeah,
shouldn't be reduced by the 180,000 and taken off the revenue side on the other way. Because what you end up with, it looks like we're funding these projects, and you're saying, no, they're coming out of this dedicated warrant article.
what happens, Bill, is if you, what you don't see, where's the revenue sheet that I?
Well, I know,
that I gave you?
I see it on the revenue side, but that looks like it's just general revenue that could go for anything. And what we're asking for is 395,000.
Well, that's why it's under special warrant articles. That's why it's
Yeah,
grouped
I,
there.
but
And
do you see the point I'm getting at, though?
I do, but where is
Because
the-
I can't sit here and say, if you've approved these special out of unfunded balance, that we're now asking for another 300, we're asking for much less than that. We're asking for about 200,000. It's not much more than we asked for last year in cash. So this isn't, all right, okay, we'll handle it.
Yeah, I mean, basically,
I
That-
just don't like the
that
accounting of
line
it.
has to
I can
summarize.
break these out
Yeah,
into each
you could
one
do
of
that.
the articles
I would.
if you want.
No, I would
I-
just put the ones that are,
Because they show
I
up
would-
on the budget report though as separate articles.
Well, what I would do is special warrant articles, and you have a category that's what?
right,
Um,
funded, from
From-
fund balance,
Yeah.
from
Okay.
cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do that.
I would do that.
because a sizable amount of this is coming from the savings that the employees gave us as a result of managing their budgets well.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
I'll figure out how to present it
Well-
so that you see it. Yeah, no, I understand what you.
Yeah.
I understand.
I
what
can,
we're
I
trying
can
to
live
do.
with it, but it's cumbersome accounting. Now, not that these would get turned down, but if they did get turned down,
Yeah.
then basically,
Then our fund balance. Then the
Well, no,
the
we can
tax
always-
rate
we-
would go down.
well, no, because we don't, no, it wouldn't, because we don't have the money from the, if they turn it down, they also turn down our ability to take it out of fund balance.
Yes. By
Except
vote.
that we can override that.
Well, you can add.
Right,
You
at
have your
any time.
discretionary.
Right.
You have your discretionary amount that you could put 100.
Put it right back in again.
Put it right
Right.
back in.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be used for a specific purpose.
right.
Now, they're using it for a specific purpose.
I like it. I like presenting it this way. The notion of the money that was saved
Yeah.
is gonna buy the ambulance, you
Yeah.
know.
It's hard for me to understand why the tax rate goes up when we do it this way, though.
We're preventing the tax rate from going up by the $230,000.
It has no, one way or
You
the
don't
other,
raise
it's,
any tax money
right.
to do
Right.
it. The thing is, on the revenue sheet,
Mm-hmm.
when we put the thing that happens from the accounting standpoint is we planned last year for $155,000 from fund balance to fund 3 or 4 projects.
Mm-hmm.
We put that in as a revenue, but we didn't. If you look at the revenue sheet, there's a 0 for actually collected. So that means we got to go to fund balance to get that $155,000.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 155 and 0.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how, from an accounting standpoint, the money goes in. But because we put it as an estimated revenue, we
Mhm.
didn't raise it with new tax money.
Yeah.
That's how it keeps the rate down.
Okay.
Right. Oh, yeah, no, if we weren't taking this $250,000 out of fund balance, the
Oh.
tax rate would go up even more.
It would be
Right.
25%,
Well,
20%.
It may be higher.
Oh, the discussion we were having before was how bonding saves you
Right.
tax
That's
rate in
correct.
the short run.
In the short
Right,
run.
short run,
short
you
run.
have to pay for it at some
Yeah.
point.
Because
Sooner
you
or
pay
later,
for it
you
over
gotta pay the
10
money
years.
back.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and this is the year we're paying some of the money back.
Oh,
Okay, So 10,000 again by fund balance,
Right.
and then $10,000
To go to the reserve.
to go into the reserve
Right.
from fund balance.
Yep.
And then the big article,
Yeah.
which
Budget.
is the operating budget,
Right.
and there is the cash, the 103,000
Right.
is the cash for the capital items that we are not funding with fund
Right.
balance. And then we have a petition warrant article, which
Right,
is,
these are actually, being combined into one, even though they're separate petitions?
well, no, the
I
three
think-
pieces of paper that you got
I did 3 petitions.
were all for the same
The same
Right.
petition.
thing.
Okay.
They're
Just three different organizations turn them, or people
Right.
turn them
Yeah.
into us, but it's the same thing. So I just put it in once. I
Okay,
wasn't gonna
and-
put it in 3 different times.
Okay, and I would
Although
assume
I
this is a
intend
warrant
to
article
have
that's going out throughout the state, so the language
Yeah,
that it
it's-
is.
the
Exactly,
language,
it's a, okay, and we have no choice in the matter anyway, so.
Well, yeah, you can, even if it's illegal, you have to put it in.
Right, okay, cool.
So Marilyn, now that we're still talking about the warrant article, do you wanna talk to Marilyn about her
Well,
request?
it's as good a time as any, yes. Let's go back to the discussion. We had a discussion with public safety relative to the
Oh, you
dog
did?
leash
Oh,
law,
is that
yes.
the meeting? Okay.
Yes, well, that's all right. I mean, it was early in the day. And we reviewed the ordinance, and essentially what they said is over the last, I think it was 2 years, something like that.
Mhm.
There have been eight complaints.
12 months.
Over the
In
last 12 months. There have been 8
No, it
complaints.
was 24 months, I said, 2 years.
7 complaints.
Seven complaints. Boy, I can tell you, we really got a
You should have caught us when
statistic
we
there.
were awake.
There have been 7 or 8 complaints relative to dogs, all right? And all of them are the type of dogs running free. These are all, where the dog is, nobody's paying attention to the dog. Of which I guess there have been 1 or 2 repeat offenders where it's been, and they have a graduated thing. The first time you get a warning, the second time you get a written warning, and the third time
It's a
you
fine.
get fined.
it's a fine. You start getting fined, and the fine escalates up. If you refuse to control your dog after a period of time, and he was a nuisance, and people kept complaining, you could technically
Be
end
brought
up in
before the
court.
judge.
Yes.
All right. We looked at the policy and looked at the record, and from a selectman's perspective, we voted that we would not recommend changing the current law. We would leave it alone, which leaves you in the position that if you can get 8, how many signatures would you need to get? 8 or 9?
I think it was 7 that we
7.
figured out before.
You'd have to get
the
7
petition.
registered
the number of
voters. Is it
people.
registered
It's
voters?
a percentage of the number of registered voters.
Voters. You'd have to have 7 registered voters sign a petition. Mark will help you if you want to go that right of writing something so that you don't end up with something that's either illegal or unenforceable. So
Unenforceable.
we'll help you write the warrant article. And if you can get the 7 signatures, it will become a warrant article by petition. And it'll come up at town meeting, and town will have a discussion and decide whether to adopt it or not. The selectmen will essentially accept and we will take no position other than as individuals we might take a position, but not as a group of selectmen. We would not recommend one way or the other. We'd just leave it as it is.
Well, yeah, in a petition warrant article, they can't put anything on whether they support it or not.
But we
It
could,
has but
fair
they
to
can
say, as
stand up.
individuals,
As
they could
individuals,
stand
you
up
can
and
stand
express
up
an
and-
opinion.
yes, absolutely.
But they could not, as a group of selectmen, we could not express an opinion. So the warrant article would just go on the ballot, town would vote.
Right.
And be a simple common vote. Show of
Majority
hands.
vote,
Unless,
however,
unless
somebody
somebody
requests
requested a
written
secret ballot,
Mhm.
which they could do at the point in time because they were concerned.
I think the one other point of information that public safety mentioned to us is that all of the complaints were from second homeowners, on second homeowner dogs, not on resident dogs.
Questions?
Yes, what law were you looking at, the selectmen ordinance number 7?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
which, according to Chief and Chris, is
Is
based
state
on the
law.
New
current
Hampshire
state
law.
law. And that is,
No,
now, this,
that doesn't restrict us from making it tighter,
Right.
but that's what it's based on.
Right.
Yeah.
now, also, they made it clear that this was a nuisance case involving the dog. And if there is a dog that is a problem with safety, you know, where it's a
With-
vicious dog or something like that, there are other laws that come into effect, and there's no 3 strikes or anything.
Right, it's an immediate.
It's an immediate
action.
thing
If someone bites her.
that if a dog were to bite somebody or something like that, then there are other rules that take effect, and they take that on a case-by-case basis, and they take immediate action,
Mhm.
is what Dave talked about.
Mhm. Yes, so
So-
that'd be great if you'll help me.
Okay, so if you could
Do
come
the
in
wording.
sometime tomorrow, I should be in all day tomorrow.
Okay, I'll call
Okay.
you in the morning, see what's
Okay.
good for you.
Yep. We do have a planning board meeting at 8,
Okay.
so probably around 9 I'll be back upstairs.
Alright, I'll
Are
call
we
you
on
tomorrow.
abatement of water charges, something as exciting as that?
Yeah.
All right.
You done with warrant articles?
Yeah,
I guess so.
I guess so.
Abatement of water charges, this is Mr., what's his name?
Wenger.
Wenger.
Yes, what,
Hey.
Mr.
Mr. Wenger
Getting them right.
does not, he is connected to the water system, but he does not have service. It's shut off.
Connected to the water
It
system.
goes, well, the pipe dead
Yeah,
ends
that
in
was
his
how-
home,
And there is
and
a
he's shut off at the road.
We went to this expense, wait a minute, put in this pipe, or was it a sewer pipe? I can't even remember.
He
No, it's
connected
water.
to
The sewer, but not the water.
That's correct. We decided to put the water in because we were digging it once.
Right, might as
He
well
has
put the water line in.
he has 4 lots
So
there.
he really was more of a sewer pipe issue
And
than
that's
he
what
was a
we
water
were,
pipe.
that's
Right,
what we
right,
were
Okay,
concerned about
Right.
because of his proximity to the well.
right.
Yes. So when we put it into the system, we put it in accidentally to both water and sewer.
Okay.
So
I'll
we
make-
need to abate.
I'll make
His water.
I'll make the motion to abate.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And here is the actual, the original.
It wasn't very much money, right?
$33.08.
Yeah.
We've already talked about the Waterville Resort Association funding request,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
we have a resolution on that. Mark, what do we do if it turns out that that we only have $1,200 in that account?
Well, then I would put in the balance to bring it up to 7,500.
All right,
Whatever it takes to
get it up
bring
to
it up to
7,500.
7,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And I'll put that
Um,
under other general government.
Old business, the 482,000 bond bid result.
And they did come back with a bid, I see.
Well, yeah, and I guess I'm a little concerned with this, okay? Because the second bid that we got, and I did get a phone call back from Brian, Meredith Village, Brian Chalmers.
Yeah.
And he did say to me yesterday that they were gonna keep their original bid, and they were gonna submit that. So the 3.85% that they had before, which you guys did not talk about
Right.
in the
Right.
public meeting, is their bid.
Right, you
All
didn't
right.
even tell us the rate before.
I did
Because
not.
we did not
I
wanna
didn't.
open.
But these are really close.
3.9, 3/4 of a point. That's not close.
Okay.
That's almost a full percentage point. If it was a quarter of a
Wait,
point.
wait,
Well, it's
you said
3.1, it's 3.19 plus $500 in
Bank fees.
bank fees, which are not part of the other bid. So, but if you're comfortable with it, we.
Well,
we
Mark-
move forward.
3.19
Somewhere on the
versus what?
3.85.
3.85.
So you gotta,
So you're
gotta
talking about 70 basis
Point.
points or
Yes.
something, right? And is it a legitimate bank?
Well, they both are, yes.
Yeah,
We do
Meredith
business
Village
with
and
both of
Northway.
them. We have
Oh.
bonds with both of them.
Mhm.
We have bonds with both of them.
And the only difference is they're charging a $500?
Yeah.
What's your
One time.
hesitancy?
Well, I guess there's no hesitancy. I just,
You like the other bank?
well, no.
Well,
I mean, it doesn't matter. Money is money. We need to do what's right for the town, but I just really kind of irks me. because I wasn't, you have no money?
No, I have no calculator.
Oh, okay.
Got a great calculator.
So we can do
Because
either one.
Because Northway didn't submit on time?
They didn't submit the first time
No, I wanted
on
to do an
time,
amortization.
claiming that we had
Oh.
not given them information.
Mm-hmm.
But they
Probably don't have that.
didn't
No.
request the information that they ended up requesting of me and that we got to them for the on-time bid. That's my hesitancy. There's a little gamesmanship, I think, going on here, and it is, like Mike points out, it's 70, almost
Yeah.
70 basis points, so.
Yeah, I would have to
So
say
we're-
Northway, because the $500 spread over 10 years
And I'm-
doesn't make up for your spread.
And I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Margaret?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so we're going to make a motion then to award the 482,000 bond bid result. What is this, a bond bid for what?
For the town share of the rural development
For
project and the
town share of the rural development project?
and the ineligible costs for the project.
Right, okay.
I'll second that.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Good.
Okay.
And then the last thing was a letter from the State Department of Revenue Administration just notifying us that they had, with this whole PRD thing, that they had gone back and redid their assessment review.
Yeah, now the noted deficiencies in there, what are these, of minor nature or what?
Most of them are minor nature. I've talked to Mark about the discrepancies in the inspections because the
Yeah.
DRA makes appointments and goes in and looks at the properties. And it's one assessor to the other disagreement. Mark says he did it correctly. The guy from the state said he didn't. So I'm not a trained assessor and, they disagree. On the use PAPs, the report that he has I'm more concerned with that.
Okay.
Because I have talked to Mark Nieder repeatedly about submitting this. Mark says that he has submitted it. The state says it doesn't meet their guidelines, and Mark says it does. So I don't know how to correct that. But technically, our assessing process is not fully up to regulation.
Okay.
And whatever action you'd like me to take, I'll do.
I
but
wouldn't even
I
have
wouldn't-
a remote
I don't
idea
know
what
what
to
to do.
recommend.
There is
I don't
none.
know
The
what to
boys
do.
have got to work it out.
Yeah. So.
Right, I mean,
I'm-
unless we wanna, go find another Mark Nieder, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Do we know what they think is not in compliance?
No, what they've done is they've picked apart Mark's,
No, it
Report.
says
Reviews.
use PAP. I'm looking at
use
the
PAP.
use PAP.
It does not, according to the state, it does not meet the standards. And the use PAP is really the technical report of how he does assessing here. And the state says it doesn't meet the regulations, and Mark says it does. Again, I'm in the same
Is from the
boat.
standpoint of any of these comments, does it, if we ever got to a point where we went to court or anything, could these state comments be used against us?
The use PAP could. Yes. And Mark, I get this resolved immediately.
He's gotta get it resolved.
Yeah.
If this is an issue where someone could say, I don't believe in your assessment and your use papping is terrible.
Right.
And some judge is gonna look at that, they gotta
Right.
get it resolved. So either the state's gotta tell us what is wrong, or something,
Right,
and ask them to fix it.
after reading this, can I give you my assessment of the assessment?
Yeah,
What it is that there are mistakes in Mark's report, according to the state.
Right.
And the state is asking Mark to fix them, and Mark has not fixed them.
That's
And that's
correct.
why the report is out of compliance.
That's
right.
Mark needs to go in and change a couple of things and bring the values in line to the corrections.
I
Yeah,
think
and tell
that
Mark
if
he needs to answer the
February
stuff.
28th, we'll give him till February
Okay,
28th. He
yeah,
needs
this
to
is,
resolve this.
I used to deal with this a lot in appraisers. The bank would call and say the appraiser's gotta correct this, and
Right.
this.
Right.
And they would go, and sometimes it was typo, but these are, it's saying here like number 9, only 4 bats, not 4.5.
Right,
They've gotta figure out who's right.
right.
All right.
Okay. Privilege of the floor.
No.
Nobody's here. Board concerns
We
and
didn't do
directives.
calendars. Everybody okay with calendars?
Calendars.
So we have February 5th as our next meeting.
Right.
Excuse me. Yes, Ann. Yes, Ann.
I will make all of these little changes with the budget. I'll get you one more hard copy document, which will be the document that we have on the counter and down at the post office for the public hearing. If there is something we want to change at the end of the meeting on the 5th,
Right.
we can change it, and that'll be the final budget that'll go on the warrant. Okay, because I want to, and maybe we have a meeting on the 6th if it's too late or whatever you want to do. But by the end of that week, by the 7th, we need to have the budget set so that we can get the town report information together. Is that doable for everybody's schedule?
Yep.
Yeah.
Me too.
Under board's concerns and directives, I'm beginning the process now of writing the annual report. All right. There's a section in there which I introduced where we just kind of cover some of the, the current issues of the town and some things that people should be reminded of. And there's 2 that I should review. One, I intended to cover this planning board select, the concept, that there, been some work done to start to redefine the concept, and that the town, and really just put it in the context over the next couple of years, the town really needs to think through how it can move on from its current position, that we're aging and falling apart. You got a problem with that?
I'd like to see it in
Well,
word.
you're gonna see it in writing. Right.
In words. The
Yeah.
aging and falling apart.
Well, I'm not going to use those words.
Yeah, well, that's why I'd like to see what you're going to say.
Yeah. But I was going to introduce the idea.
Yeah.
All right. The second is I'm going to go back on, and I'm going to make the statement under the water sewer thing that that we started out last year with the hope that we were going to be done with this project by the end of this year, and that we're not. It's taken another year. That I'm going to really get into a little bit. That we got. The bid process hung us up. We only had one person who's bid. Be okay to say the bids came in too high, and as a result, we made a decision.
The single bid that we got
We're
was
going to
too
roll
high.
this all. Yeah, we're
Right.
rolling this all over and starting again next
Yes.
spring. So
Yes.
so that we're on kind of a 1-year delay. I am not going to, mainly because I don't know what to say. Essentially, I'm going to say that right now we'll deliver the thing within the budgeted amounts of money, but there has been significant changes and revisions to what we're we're providing, but we still got the money to do it.
Due to Irene and changes
Right,
in
a whole
guidelines
bunch
during
of
the
stuff,
process.
yes.
Well, I thought, can I do a 1-page project summary that kind of lays out some of that detail? Would that be okay? That
I
we
don't,
can put
let
in
me
the
take a
Let's
look
see
at
what
what
it
I've
looks
done,
like.
and
Okay.
you can correct it. You don't have to go to that trouble. All right?
Well, yeah, but I wanted to.
If you
from a
want to put that
historical-
in it as a separate item in the annual report,
Yeah,
be my
that-
guest.
Well, let's see.
Right.
Why don't you give it to us as a
Yes.
tool to
Right.
use? Maybe we'll
Sure.
use it, or maybe we won't.
Because my goal would be the historical
Right.
of keeping track of where we are in the project,
Right.
where we started, where we are right now, and just have something that's going to
Okay.
be ongoing.
All right. So I just want to give you a heads up on those 2 things. Hopefully I'll have a draft in a few days and I'll send it out. So we've got to the 27th.
I put
Well,
that
yeah.
Monday out
Right.
there
Yes.
just as a
Yeah.
Right.
date.
So
to
I'll get it to you next week and you
Sometimes-
take a look
some-
at it
some
and
it
give me
might
your
be
feedback.
late.
We've got a domicile request. We need
Yeah.
to go into non-public.
Yeah, do you, as far as the town report, dedications,
I think we're going to. I would think we would change it. Well, we had talked about one person, but that person is still with us. But your call. But
oh,
what do you think?
no, no. Like,
Well, do we
I-
wanna
it's
do-
like the DRA
we were-
commissioner today.
Yeah.
No, no, no.
We were,
I'm not
we were
gonna
going to
that.
do it, in honor of Pat and her service.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
now with
okay, I've
Bruce,
forgotten that,
with
yeah.
Bruce passing, I would think it would be more appropriate.
Or we can just do it on citizen service,
We could.
you know, and recognizing citizens that have gone beyond and above and beyond the call of duty, you know, in terms of, because we're running into a problem, trying to get citizens that, volunteer citizens that provide service that you never hear of, you know? And I don't know, are there any, I mean, the problem with that is are we slighting anybody,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Or we could just say, and this year we're gonna recognize two outstanding, you know, we're not limiting it, but we're gonna recognize two outstanding individuals.
Yeah.
That's
There you
that's
go.
a way
Right.
to do it. Do
Yeah.
it as an advertisement for
Also,
citizen service overall, and
Right.
to this year
Right.
recognize two outstanding
Right.
examples. Yeah.
Could do
Yeah.
something like that.
we need to start mining the school as well for volunteers to get people involved in service. There are a lot of new families that are here that will be here for a while.
Yeah. Mark, you got a problem with this?
No, I'm open to whatever. I do think that it's important that we have something there because that's
Absolutely.
again a historical
Yep.
carry on for the community. So
Yep.
yeah. And service to the community doesn't always include service on a town board and stuff.
Right.
Lenny did a
No,
lot.
it's
Lenny did
service,
a lot for the community.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that
Well, I mean, if you,
know,
if you
having-
think through it, there's
Yeah,
others
I-
that need to be on
Yeah.
that list, let's
Let's
Yeah,
let's
I
get
do
a
it.
list together because
Yeah.
I think Lenny should be honored too for all
Yeah.
the stuff he did with all the kids and the music and
absolutely the service at the school and
Right.
the service at the mountain and
keeping cynicism alive.
cynicism alive. Yeah, I think that there's we can do that.
The
Yeah.
important things, Margaret.
Yeah.
Community service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll come something around that theme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, or,
good.
you know, yeah, community, love a community,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right,
That
okay.
would be a unique.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Well, it'd be good to get some, right,
Yeah.
well, anyway.
Love of community.
Are you putting pictures with this?
Well, that's.
I would
yeah.
love to have pictures of some
think
of these
It'd be nice
people
if we could
and
get
more
them.
people doing community things. And we could go back to the days of we've got a picture of the people building the stone tower
I've
as
got
a community project.
I've got a great picture of Bruce Sanger dressed up as Santa Claus.
There you go.
Yeah, good.
With Sandy on his lap, giving him a
There you go.
kiss.
Well,
That would be
it's
awesome.
well, have you seen the one that they've been using with me and him, me giving him a hug and him cringing?
No.
That's the one that's been
Well, that's-
used a lot. It's
yeah.
we're at the golf tournament. I said, take a picture of this, and I gave him a big hug.
That's good. All right, we'll
All right.
we'll come up with something. That's
Yeah.
an awesome idea. Good.
Okay. We got a domicile request, so we need to go into non-public. You wanna